And if you stay in the mist, you gon' be soaked. So listen up, cause this hair of the dog, what's real, what ain't? Is this the fog or smog? Cause there's a difference when you breathe it in. So don't let the corporate media take you for a spin. This that morning show, they put you in the know. So I hope that you ready, cause all we do is go, go, go. Yeah, come get your info, you gon' be like, whoa. Hair of the dog, we bout that, ayy. We in the zone, we out here, yeah. Speeding the facts.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Hair of the Dog. I'm Andy Kennedy. It is Wednesday. It is Frozen Wednesday here, and you know that I like to complain about the weather a lot. That's kind of an opening for me. It's locked in my house. So, I'm just trying to make myself feel better by talking about the crappy weather in Canada. Unfortunately, though, for a lot of Americans, they're pseudo-Canadians right now because of the deep freeze that's been happening right down to Texas with the weather and the snow and the freezing rain. And, it's, if you watched our last show, you will remember that I was talking about the polar vortex and why now the cold weather is able to reach as far south as it does. And, it's considering how much the United States is responsible for climate change, it's kind of Mother Nature's way of saying, here you go, look what you did. This is cold. This is what they get in Canada. How do you like me now? Anyways, that's just a little rant of my own. I would like to introduce my lovely and talented co-host, Ms. Carrie Barber. Good morning, Carrie. How are you this morning?
Good morning. It's actually we're coming out of the deep freeze here in New Mexico, and a shout out to everybody in Texas, except El Paso. El Paso is on the national grid electrically, and they're doing okay. So everyone else in Texas, man, shout out to you. And it was so sad seeing people, like there were tweets of, with my last 1%, I want to shout out to all of you and send my love. And then it was gone. It reminded me of that, Major Tom song where they're gone. They're gone now. So, I mean, it's not funny, but it's kind of
well,
funny.
it is from my perspective, right? Because I'm used to this, right? What Texas calls a catastrophe, Canadians call barbecue weather, right? It's all depends on where you live and what you're used to. And so I can understand. I've been there. I know how it is. I got a shout out from good friends of ours that are in the Tampa area and Palm Harbor, just northwest of Tampa. And, they, despite the fact that I think they said it was like somewhere between 70 and 75% of the U.S. at that time was, at least below the freezing mark, and it was still 85 in Tampa. So,
Oh, sure. And shout out to Dean, who is celebrating his birthday in Tampa. He's one of our patrons. He keeps sending me photos of the golf course. So good on you, Dean. Now, Dean is originally from Wisconsin, so, we'll cut him some slack. But,
Sure. Did his time. Right.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. Did your time in the freezer. So
Yes.
I am from Marquette, Michigan, which is as close as you can get to Canada. Like I can see Canada from my house.
Yes, from your window.
Right. So shout out to NMU alum. But yeah, it was frigid. My dad used to say Marquette is a rugged place where the men are men and so are the women. Thanks, Dad.
Well, you can't tell the difference when you're wrapped up for winter, right?
Yeah, that's exactly. And that was the first place where I learned that you had to shovel snow off your roof because they would average 50 some inches of snow per year. That's a lot. And when I was driving in Marquette, it is just like Hoth, where you're driving down the trench and there's nothing but snow walls like 10, 12 feet. So yeah, that was.
Yes. I see Atlantic Canada is like that, right?
Mhm.
Because their Atlantic Ocean, the temperature of it, and these warm masses of air coming up and through, and it generates a shit ton of snow. And one of the two guitar players in the band that I play in is originally from there and posts pictures on Facebook, and it's just remarkable. And you wonder, how do they get the snow out of there when there's a 12-foot wall of snow beside? Right?
You just dig a tunnel. That's all it is. So, all right. So let's pivot a little bit. Get serious here. Serious subject, or can be, or let's present it in a totally human way. And in just a few minutes, we're going to have a very special guest join us. But for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, just so you know, we are live. Anything can happen. And this also means that you get to weigh in. So if you type a comment, and just in case Seven's watching, I missed your comments on Monday, and because Facebook doesn't necessarily integrate real well. So I will be surfing all of Facebook for everywhere that we stream to try and capture these comments. Chances are I'm going to see it today. We're on Twitch, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube, all of these different channels. Hopefully we haven't been censored off, but so we definitely want you involved in the conversation, and I don't censor you. So if you say something bullshit, probably call you out on it. But we do want you to weigh in on the conversation, because obviously we're not perfect. As much as Andy would like to think that I am perfect, I am not.
I'm not even going there.
It's
too early.
Yeah, I know. So everybody, feel free to weigh in, and we want to hear your thoughts. And I don't care where you fall on the political spectrum. We're all family. So let's talk about it. So Andy, you have a story. You have a story that you want to share.
Yeah, and it's kind of a wrap up at this point, because it's kind of come full circle. But I'm not sure how many people actually know or how much coverage this got in the U.S., but in 2019, if you recall, that the Toronto Raptors won the NBA championship, right? It was the first time that a city outside of the U.S. won. And the Raptors have the backing of an entire country because they're their only representatives in the NBA. And the president of the team, president of basketball operations, is a gentleman named Masai Ujiri, and he is originally from Nigeria. His family's from there, and he grew up there. He was actually born in the UK, but anyways, he had a short basketball career in mostly Europe, but was signed by the Raptors in 2002 as a scout and moved up through the ranking, through the hierarchy of Toronto, with a stopover in Denver for the Nuggets, but eventually became president in 2016. And he's always had a reputation of being a very good basketball executive, rescuing teams that are floundering and turning them around and getting them to the playoffs, which of course is shown by the fact that Toronto won in 3 years later. Very much celebrity status in Canada anyways, because of his position with the Raptors. So I'll take you back to June of 2019. The championships game 6 was at Oracle Arena, Golden State Warriors home game. Right, the Raptors are up 3-2 in the series, and they ended up winning that game. Right, so they won the championship. And of course, when you're an away team, there's some concern that you want the team, as they're celebrating their win, to stay safe. So there's a fairly large police presence around the perimeter of the floor, watching the crowd and so on and so forth. Well, so President Ujiri was making his way to the floor to celebrate with his team, and there was an incident with sheriff's deputy named Alan Shepard, Alan Strickland, get that name wrong, where there was an altercation. there was pushing and shoving. Nobody knew what happened. There was no footage of it. Eventually, Masai made his way to the court and was celebrating with his team. And so, because there were a number of people in that area, the police were called in. What happened? So there was a statement by the Alameda County Sheriff's Department saying that, he wasn't showing his credentials. He walked up. He was very aggressive. He pushed the deputy so hard in his face that he suffered a black eye, a concussion, and was now off work because of this. And then he was, so there was no counter to this for the longest time. So of course it was very strange incident. Why would he do something like this? Well, it turns out that over a year later, they finally released the footage from the vest cam of the deputy, and Masai Ujiri did nothing wrong. He was basically just walking. This deputy aggressively came over, stopped him. He was trying to, Ujiri was trying to pull his credentials out of his pocket to show the police officer. And he said, he basically two-handed him away and was swearing at him. And he's like, no, I'm the president. I'm trying to get on to the court with my team. Did it twice, right? Without really saying anything. And was, so Ujiri pushed him back. And then eventually Kyle Lowry, the starting guard for Toronto, saw the commotion, made his way over to where he was, grabbed him by the arm and pulled him onto the court away from danger, right? And so the entire story that the Alameda Sheriff's Department had said that happened was a complete lie. It was not at all true in any way. And on top of everything, once they had dropped the charges, when this footage came out, this deputy had started a civil suit against him saying that, he injured me. I can't work. I'm suing for $75,000 because of loss of income, right? So this was over a year later. So just this week, word has now come out that this deputy has finally dropped this suit, right? And of course, because of this, Ujiri had a countersuit against him, right? So he agreed to drop the countersuit. So now finally there's vindication, almost 2 years later.
But wait, for a year, the Sheriff's Department, knowing full well, because they have to do an investigation, even if it's a shitty investigation, they have to do one. They knew that this footage existed, even if they try to lose it or whatever whatever they tend to do. They knew this was available, and they're like, oh yeah, this totally happened. So in my mind, the accountability piece of this is, okay, so the private civil suit has been dropped. I get that. That's fine. The sheriff and everybody who did the investigation or was supposed to do the internal investigation, they're all gone. No pension, no nothing, none of it. Gone, out. And that's how you fix things. So tell me, Andy, are they still employed?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Deputy Strickland still working for that county's sheriff's department. Nothing has changed as far as that's concerned. No charges.
And this is part of the problem. This is part of the problem. I mean, even if you take all of this stuff and bring it, a parent, or even if you don't have kids, you have pets. None of this is reasonable, right? When one goes after the other, you try to do an investigation. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're having a bad day, right? But still, some level of accountability has to be there, right? Because
yes, absolutely, absolutely, and we've, obviously we've seen, the writing on the wall of how law enforcement treats certain members of society, right? And in different interviews with Masai, his point was that, well, I have the ability, right, to fight this, right, because of my position, right, because of the fact that I'm who I am, right, so I can at least defend myself against this, whereas, and we've talked about this, that the court system is really in place just for rich people, right? So the person that it's the black or brown person in society that gets accused of something on the street, how do they fight that? Well, they can't.
And that's exactly right. We've seen this over and over. But let's bring on our guest, because I have a feeling that he's got particular opinions about this subject and a whole lot of others. So
you think he may weigh in about this?
Maybe. So for those of you who are not familiar, this is where I show my age. In my head, I was like, this is a great kid. No, this is a man who is doing some really great things on YouTube with some really intelligent commentary. So this is Dre from Keep It 100 Dre on YouTube. So Dre, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing good.
Excellent. So thank you so much for joining us. So Andy now this is Canada, right? The land of polite white people. He just went through the same story that we hear over and over again. Now, the biggest difference here is this person of color, this gentleman has stature and fame, and it still happened to him. He didn't die, but he was literally crucified in public opinion because for a year, this officer was talking about he did X, Y, and Z to me, a lowly public servant, when none of that is true. So on your particular channel, you tackle these kind of issues too. So if it's happening in Canada, is there any hope for us here?
Well, I believe the event happened in Oakland.
It did actually. It was Game 6 was at Oracle, right? And so this was the Alameda Sheriff's Department. And I just one little now I wasn't able to specifically verify this, but there were a couple of reports that I read that said that Alameda County, their Twitter account, has occasionally retweeted tweets from what's his name, Richard Spencer, the
well, that's delightful.
Yes. There's a number of lovely stories that come out of this particular county sheriff's office. That things that make you go, and I'm showing my age too, Carrie.
Yeah, exactly. So Dre, on your channel, I was watching, you had done a segment on this police officer, a black man who was, you could just see the look on his face. He was heartbroken, and then he ended up committing suicide.
Yes.
So walk us through this story, because I think it relates to, it's on the spectrum of police brutality and inequality and us being shitty to each other. So
so Clyde III, he was a Louisiana police officer, and he just felt completely dejected and depressed about what was going on with police brutality. He spoke about George Floyd and just absolutely disgusting what happened to him, and just other events that was happening with police brutality. He was saying how he is proud to be a sheriff. He really loved and enjoyed the job, but it's wrong what's going on, and it's disgusting. And he spoke about how no one cares about us. He doesn't know who they care about, but he knows it's not about the people, and something absolutely needs to change. And it's very unfortunate that he ended up committing suicide because he just simply couldn't take what was going on anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and the whole video is about, I believe, 25 minutes long. I linked the entire video in my channel description.
So we saw this in Chicago with the Black Lives Matter protests. We had a number of black officers who ended up committing suicides in their squad cars. So you have this, Andy and I, in our generation, we grew up where you were going to be a firefighter or a police officer or a doctor or a nurse. And then fast forward to 2020, none of those professions are valued. We see this in loss of life, right? And particularly when you're going into a law enforcement, you have these ideas, particularly as a person of color, Black, Asian, whatever, I'm going to bring some diversity and balance. And then you get into it, and like this officer, you feel helpless, right? You can't, I'm stumbling here because in my head, I'm going through the list of all the police whistleblowers who ended up assaulted, killed, lost their pension, lost their job, harassed, all of these things. So here you are, you're in Brooklyn, right?
Yes.
Your police force is famous for kind of siding with the alt-right. So what's your perspective now? So here you are, a Black man walking in the street of an American city. You are a citizen, but you've got this police force that throughout the prior administration was very bold about breaking laws and violating civil liberties. How are you feeling about this today?
So I feel that the police, their entire job is to serve the rich and the corporations. And also, like, while serving the rich and the corporations, they're hiring racist people. So that's just like part of their process. They want to hire people who's not going to stir the cart, who's not going to rock the boat, as well as people who's going to police brown and Black people, because the entire system runs off throwing brown and Black people into jail. If you remember, Richard Nixon, like, one of his assistants admitted that the drug war was to target Blacks and liberal white people so they couldn't vote for the Democrats, hippie whites, actually. So when they're constantly throwing brown and Black people into prisons, then they're making the system run. They're making money for the large corporations. And in the private prisons, the prisoners work for about, I believe, 5 to 10 cents a day to make clothing for people in the corporations. So it's just a whole profit-driven system.
So it's the 13th Amendment. But Dre, come on now. Let's be honest. We had a Black man as president, and now we got Joe Biden. So everything is totally fine, right?
Oh man. The amount of times I heard that. So I first really became interested in politics like in 2000, and then during the 2000 elections, because I didn't understand what was going on, why George Bush got less votes and won and Al Gore lost. So I already started paying attention to politics after that. And I just remember having the really simplistic mindset at that time that how, Democrats equal good, Republicans equal bad. But it completely changed after like 2010, 11, where I really started paying attention. So a lot of people, they have like the same mindset I had when I was 7 years old. And that just makes no sense to me. Every single president in my lifetime has been terrible, even prior to my lifetime. Nixon with the drug war, Reagan with trickle-down economics, then George Bush, the Iraq war, the Afghanistan war, Wall Street, the financial crash of 2008, then Obama dropping 26,000 bombs on brown people overseas. That's somehow okay because he's Black, dropping bombs on brown countries overseas. Signed the NDA of 2011, which allows him to prosecute people and throw them in prison without trial or charge, as long as he can label him as a terrorist. So the issue there is the federal government can define what terrorism is. For example, if you boycott, you can be labeled an economic terrorist. And I was like upset about that, screaming about that back in 2011 when he did it. And people was like, oh, you're being crazy. You need to like relax, call me all types of names that's not okay, because I wasn't okay with Obama doing it. And then Trump
Wait. People were harassing you because you were speaking on behalf of a pro-life stance. Please don't kill poor people?
Pretty much. And don't throw them in the jail without trial or charge indefinitely.
Wow. Okay, so real quick, Lee weighed in this morning. He said that where he lives, the police now are using social media to do a deep dive on applicants. And I'm hoping that the deep dive includes, Lee, maybe you can clarify, includes maybe you're not part of Stormfront, or is that what they're looking for? They want to see if you're a Blue Lives Matter above and beyond all things. So what does it mean, Lee? Let us know what your thoughts are on that. But okay, let's get back to you being a terrible person for arguing against a president, regardless of ideology or color, because we're all Americans, right? Whoever serves in the office, he's your president.
Except when Trump was in office.
No. And here's part of the problem where it comes to accountability for us. Still our president, right? We will always be forever the country that elected Donald J. Trump as president. So we can't get around that. But in this case, you're talking about the Obama and you being harassed, which to me is just way too familiar and sad that it was happening to you too, because I'm older, I'm used to it. The people that I argue with are my age. They don't change. You're part of the next generation, our great hope. How is this happening to you?
So the first time I brought issue about it, I remember when I went to college, they were registering, voters to make sure they voted in the 2012 election. And I'm like, I'm not voting for Obama for these reasons. And they're like, what is wrong with you? Like, he's the Black president. You should vote for him. And I'm like, that's not a reason to vote for him. Like, just him being my skin color isn't progress. Him, like I said, him dropping the 26,000 bombs overseas, making income inequality worse, and just doing so many, turning 2 wars into 7. If that's progress.
I mean, so it's okay. So now I'm starting to feel a little bit better, because here you are. I'll admit, I've told the story about my son and when Obama was first elected, and then the next election, I was still like, I gotta support him because who's it? Mitt Romney?
Yeah, Mitt Romney.
Douchey guy. So it was just yet again the lesser of two evils, right? But you held out. You kind of stood your ground there. So I applaud you for that. Even if we don't agree, at least you had your reasons lined out. So now here we are, where the lesser evil is the bar is so low for the lesser evil. So you and I got to talking about, and we joined in on this social media feed of woke white liberals, and we were talking about Harriet Tubman. And I think that this particular topic is so indicative of the brunch crowd. And if you're part of that brunch crowd, come on and pay attention. So we were talking about putting Harriet Tubman on, what is it, the $20 bill?
Yes.
And you had some really great thoughts on this. So please share them with the rest of our audience, because I support you 100% in all of this. Go ahead.
So one of the biggest ironies that I thought was pretty funny and crazy was that Harriet Tubman is going to be on the front of a $20 bill while Andrew Jackson's statue's still in the back. What are they doing?
Right.
Hey, trying to separate.
Yeah, exactly. So the point that you brought up, I thought, so for people who don't know, because we're Americans and we don't know our own history, Jackson had slaves.
Yeah.
So we're gonna put the heroine who, if you don't know the Harriet Tubman story, I will put it to you like this: you probably know the Joan of Arc's story, and what Harriet Tubman did made Joan of Arc look like she was running to the corner store on a Saturday on a sunny day. So go back and look at Harriet Tubman. This woman was phenomenal. And you talk about miracles and wherever you are, this woman had it. But the quote that I love that has always been attributed to her, and I'm not certain if this is accurate, but I could have freed more slaves if they realized they were slaves. And so now put her on the face of a $20 bill with the slave master on the back of it. Slaves now? Anybody who thinks this is a good idea, do you not know that you are a slave? And this is what kind of blows my mind about it, that through the Biden administration, it's very performative, right? We have this historic woman of color as vice president. Yeah, okay, but let's look at her policies. What we did? No, we can't question that. You can't talk about any of that. So, all right, so I have all of this privilege where I feel like I can. What's going on in your space? Are you getting the same thing?
Oh, absolutely. If I say anything about Kamala Harris, I'm being a sexist. I'm racist. I don't have my profile picture on Facebook, so people just assume that I'm not Black. I get called Russian all the time, which is very crazy.
Okay.
And isn't it kind of racist to just randomly call people Russian?
It's the new bot. You're a bot. So I snorted my coffee when somebody called you racist. But yeah, that's so true. That's so true. So if I cannot, and we saw this, right, with the woke brunch crowd when they were all over Jill Biden's performative Valentine's Day thing. You were a Russian bot. You were you would be a misogynist because you're male, so that's an easy one to pull out there. What was I? Hateful and a Republican, and just all of these things that they put out there because it's our political discourse is on the level of a third grade recess, and that's exactly where we are because we don't have that critical thinking. So to come across someone like yourself, even though, you know, I agree with you on some things, maybe a little bit on others, I'm delighted to see somebody who has a grasp of critical thinking and can articulate it in such a good way. So this is why I wanted to call out your YouTube channel. And so tell us a little bit about what you hope to do there. You're just one misogynistic, racist guy.
How dare you?
I know. So you're just one guy who's trying to put some sanity into the political discourse. What is it you're trying to accomplish with your channel here?
So I've always hated the way the news covered everything. I always felt like they lied or told half truths. So I want to try to be as objective as I can when covering the news, whether I agree with a political candidate or not. I think it's important to tell people what's actually going on. That very rarely happens, and you very rarely see it in the media. You might see on occasion a good job is done, but the only time that's really the case ever is when they're covering the opposition party. When MSNBC and CNN, they're covering Trump, they would do a good job on occasion, except when he's in favor of war, then they say he's a great president. Fox News, them covering Joe Biden or Obama, they would do very, very, very rarely a good job talking about anything. Fox News actually did a good job covering Andrew Cuomo, his failures on COVID. They were the first to report him like lying about what was going on in nursing homes, like covering up deaths, like fudging the numbers. I didn't want to trust that first because it was Fox News, and Fox News was the only outlet I seen that reported it. But then eventually other outlets reported it. So I'm like, oh, Fox News actually was telling the truth this time.
So it's almost like, okay, if you have somebody who is in the Democratic Party, you got to go to Fox News. If you have somebody who's a Republican or libertarian, then you go to MSNBC and you just hope for the best, right? So, yeah. So I was looking at an article yesterday. Heath, what is the dude's name? Heath, I'll look it up. But this is a 40-year-old hedge fund manager who has quietly purchased 50 major news publications. His latest one is the Chicago Tribune. And he's purchased all of it. Why does a 40-year-old hedge fund manager need to purchase major publications?
So really, it's to control a narrative to make sure that he is that he's not reported on. Like, he controls what's being put out about him. And I think it's very important to also talk about the reason why this is happening. Bill Clinton in 1996, he signed the Telecommunications Act, which the Telecommunications Act of 1996, which allowed media to be consolidated within very few people. So before there were many major media companies and they didn't have to worry about corporate consolidation. After Bill Clinton signed the act, they're able to purchase as many media corporations as you want. And something that I theorize, but I really don't have evidence to, I believe that played a large part in Donald Trump actually becoming president. So Bill Clinton, he is the reason why Fox News is as big as it is. And Fox News really fueled Donald Trump's rise, as well as CNN and MSNBC, because he was ratings for them. So if not for Bill Clinton, Donald Trump may not have been president.
Well, it's funny you should bring up the Clintons, because I'm old enough to remember, as governor of Arkansas, he was just a Republican in a blue jumpsuit, right? Racist as the day is long, as so was his wife Hillary. And then they had that whole idea of the third way. We can be just like Republicans in all ways, including our fundraising, and we'll get elected as blues, right? The blue team. So yeah, absolutely. We have Bill Clinton and Hillary and all of these people, John Podesta. We can thank them for the Pied Piper strategy that gave us Trump. Now we have Neera Tanden, who's in the Biden administration. Way to go, Neera. You snowed everybody. So all of these things, there is, in my mind, correct me if I'm wrong, Dre, there's very little difference, right? It's two flavors of the same whatever you want to call it. So right. So what do I do about it? And honestly, my time is running out. I'm looking at you going, yeah, dude, I screwed up. Sorry. Good luck. So what's your plan? What's your plan from here?
So I plan on continue making videos and trying to be honest and objective about what I believe is the truth. But I feel the only way that things can change is if people fight to get money out of politics. Because ultimately, what is going to determine who wins? It's kind of changing a little bit now with social media, but ultimately determine who's going to win whatever position they run for is who raises the most corporate money. If we can do something to get that out of the system, that can be a massive game changer, because it's going to be based on who has the better ideas, who has a better message, rather than whose name is able to get out more based on the corporate money.
Gotcha. Okay, so you have this major mayoral race coming up. And as I understand it, for the first time, you guys are actually going to do ranked choice voting. Mm-hmm. What does that do for you?
That's amazing, because a person doesn't have to worry about, if I pick, they don't have to worry about the lesser of two evils anymore. So they can pick their first choice and then their second choice. They don't got to worry about splitting votes anymore. So whoever their first choice is, if it's not the person who's, I guess, the leader, then they can put that person as their second choice. So their first, second, third choice, I'm having a hard time explaining it, but
well, it's okay. It's okay. It's new for all of us, because right now we only have 2 states that did it. And so all eyes are kind of on New York, because this is a major city. Your population is larger than some states. So this is the first time we're actually going to see this in play, and everyone's like, oh, what's New York going to do? And we want to see this, how it works, because I want to make the distinction. There is voter fraud, very rarely happens. Election fraud, now that's something different. These are the levers of power. And we had Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer and leaders of the Republican Party come out full-throated endorsement of rigging primary elections to private corporations, running public elections. Think about that for a second, folks. And here you have a race where we have a voting apparatus that maybe they haven't figured out how to manipulate those scales yet. Maybe they have. So we're all kind of watching Ooh, we know who the anointed candidates are in this race. We know who the celebrity is. Yang, and you know, the one that is corporate neoliberal, but we're seeing these other candidates in the mayoral race who seem kind of genuine, but wouldn't have a chance in hell under normal circumstances. So how are you feeling about this particular race shaping up? I don't know. I mean, there are what, 300 people running for mayor, and you got like the top 20. So
But if they cut back a little,
a little. Everybody's running, including the Sumatran rat.
yes, I heard that the ballot is going to be a list of people not running because it's shorter.
That's exactly right. So what are your thoughts overall? I'm not gonna out you on a candidate right yet because I don't think that's fair. But what are your thoughts overall on the way the mayoral race is shaping up?
Right now, I believe Andrew Yang is the favorite. So I definitely agree with him on UBI, but not his implementation of it. I feel it's too right wing, and he wants to more so. So UBI. It's normally a left wing policy, but it can be right wing depending on how you implement it. So right wingers normally want to implement it in a way that cuts social services and give people less money. Like if you was getting $1,500 in social services, they would rather give you $1,000 check while cutting the $1,500. That simply makes no sense and doesn't work.
Well, it comes from Thomas Paine. That is Thomas Paine with 1787, right? That has never changed. So Andy, jump in here.
Should I really? Do you want me to? How much time is left?
Well, how does Andrew Yang do a UBI on a state budget?
Very libertarianly. No, the problem is you can't, because the New York City or even New York State is not a currency issuer. They are a currency user. They rely on tax money to fund the state or the city, right? Now, if you're talking about the federal government, which is the currency issuer, right, then that might be a different story. But there are also reasons, and, you know, Drea's just talked about it, how the UBI and why they love the idea of a UBI, and that is to basically just throw money at people monthly, and then we can just get rid of all of the social safety nets that are in place, right? We're not going to all of a sudden implement a UBI and then change policy positions that the neoliberals have been building for the last 50 or however many years and start taking care of people, right? We have people losing everything because of medical debt, because of student tuition, right? There are so many things wrong right now. People are going hungry. They're losing their homes. There are so many problems. The answer is, let's throw $1,000 to everybody. That doesn't help anything. That doesn't do anything. And that's why UBI from the likes of someone like Andrew Yang because it looks like it's helpful, but it's not, right? Mm-hmm. We were talking about Bill Clinton earlier, and we were talking about just a quick side story, right? About he was a Democrat, and there's people that still absolutely think that Bill Clinton was one of the best presidents that the United States ever had, right? He starved the economy of money, right? Mm-hmm. By balancing the budget.
Yeah.
His administration was buoyed by two of the hugest bubbles in the history of the United States, the dot-com bubble and the housing bubble, right? That's why things were good during Clinton, right? And so you've got all of these things going on. A lot of people don't know this, but Clinton had an agreement in place with Newt Gingrich at the time to eliminate social security, Medicare and Medicaid. And it was about to happen, but the Monica Lewinsky incident happened. And that basically took the air out of that proposal, right? That this controversy had now eliminated the possibility of them passing those policies, right? So if you think about it, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid were saved by a blowjob.
Yep.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate that. So I just want to clarify not on the blowjob thing, but okay. So we are in favor of the stimulus, but the stimulus doesn't really help you if you have housing insecurity, right? And so this is the distinction between a stimulus check for people who need it, and we need that every month, which is in itself a UBI. But having a UBI without these other pieces, Social Security, Medicaid, so safety net, plus housing security, and all of these other things, they're all necessary. Otherwise, what happens under Thomas Paine's proposal all the way to today, Andy, you're right. We're going to throw some money at you, and then we can stop paying you once you're dead. And
people realize that capitalism is in its death throes, right? That it will implode on itself eventually. Whether it happens sooner or later, it depends on how many people wake up to the realization that capitalism is destroying, the world and the environment and everything else, right? So that's the consideration for capitalism. It's going to be destroyed. It just depends on how long it's going to do it. So when you hear of politicians talking about the UBI, okay, as a solution to help people, so what are we going to do? We're going to give people that are hurting more money to give back to the capitalists.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So Dre, you're being too quiet and too polite, and I appreciate it.
That's right. Way in here.
Yes. So, all right. We have totally, I don't want to say destroyed, but critiqued UBI. You can't really do a UBI on a state level. Can't do it on a city level without making some serious cuts. So my problem with Yang is Yang will get a lot of the white male vote because Dre, your generation doesn't vote. Why?
I feel a lot of people in our generation don't vote is because they feel completely dejected by the system. They feel like no matter, my vote doesn't matter because they're going to say one thing and do the exact opposite, which is what happens very often, unfortunately. But I feel the answer isn't to not vote. The answer is to vote for candidates that you believe in. And something that I see very often as well is when the candidate that they believe in, they feel that candidate's going to lose, they'll be like, I might as well vote for the winning candidate who I believe is going to win. Why? because you believe...
We want to back the winning horse. Yay, team! Yeah.
So that only hurts people in the long run continually voting for the person they believe that's going to win, just because, like, you're voting for the lesser of two evils, like you brought up many times in this segment. Your life is just going to be less worse, maybe, or it'll feel better. It'll feel better when you're going hungry and being homeless. You just to get that warm.
That's right. You did the right thing. If you're dying of starvation, at least you knew you did the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where we are. So, Dre, I want to stick around, but I want to thank you for coming on this morning. And if you have not already checked out Keep It 100, what does that mean? Keep It 100. I'm old or hip, so explain that to me.
So, Keep It 100 just means be honest, 100% honest with everything you say and do.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so Keep It 100 Dre is the name of your program and channel on YouTube. We put a link in the channel, in the chat here, so everybody go out and take a look at what he's doing. Like, subscribe, weigh in, and are you on a regular schedule when you release your videos, or how does that work?
I try to post 5 days a week, but at the very least, I post 3 days a week.
Well, that's impressive. That's an impressive schedule. So Yeah, go check them out and weigh in on those conversations. So really appreciate you being here. We'd love to have you back with some more conversation. You're too quiet. You're too polite. Andy and I are rude.
That's right. That's right. We've got to get you more assertive in this role.
Exactly. So before we get out of here, there are two things that I wanted to mention real quick when we talk about accountability. I wrote up a story. I got this tip from a viewer. So thank you for this tip. This was about a report that was released on February 4th by the House Subcommittee on arsenic in baby food. It's arsenic in the rice that is being used to make baby formula, as well as other products, a lot of other products, prepackaged products that adults and children and everyone else use arsenic. So in this particular report, the House Subcommittee, bless their hearts, they went full bore, Trump bad, and the FDA totally dropped the ball. So when I went out and looked at their report, looked at the evidence, looked at their sources, went back to the FDA, and what was shocking to me is, no, not just Trump bad, Obama bad, because apparently we've known about the arsenic levels being off the chart, 300% more than what even the FDA requires for over 10 years. So it's just like with Flint, when they said, well, you know, you can have so many parts per billion of lead in the water. And then you have pediatricians going, wait, no, the safe level of lead is 0, not this level that you put out. Same thing's happening when it comes to arsenic. Now, arsenic.
Think of it as like bullets.
Yeah, how many is safe? Right. So in this study, the FDA set a level of 100 parts per billion, which is a very small number, parts per billion. However, it's a naturally occurring substance. So you're getting arsenic from your electronics if they're malfunctioning, from all sorts of other things. You definitely don't want it in your baby formula, because what happens is that is a lifetime of toxin that goes through the liver. So this contributes to cancer, to liver failure, to all sorts of ailments. So what I did was took a look at the facts, and, you know, based on this conversation, the right says this person's responsible, the left says this person's responsible. So what I did was compile the evidence that shows you both suck, and we need to have recalls and better labeling and all of these things. Be honest with people. So that was published yesterday, and I'm going to do a video today to correspond it, because I know you all have the shortest attention spans ever, and reading 4 pages is way too long. So I'll have that coming out. And then the other thing I want to mention is, this is my religious soapbox for a second. Today is Ash Wednesday. So to the 20 million Catholics out there, happy Ash Wednesday. And for evangelicals who like to claim Christianity, here's what it is. The 40 days of you being a less shitty person. And what we do is you meditate on why you're a shitty person, not your neighbor, not these gays, not these other people, not these sinners, you. Why are you the problem? And the reason it's 40 days is because in the first 10, 20 days, you're going to screw up. So anything that you do over 30 days is likely to become a habit, maybe. I don't know. As Catholics, we do this twice a year because we still screw it up. So I would invite you, if you don't know anything about Lent or what this season means, but you claim some religious affiliation, come with me on this one. Because for the next 40 days, I am going to try to be a less shitty person. And during COVID, this is perfect, because what you're supposed to do is help other people without recognition, without reward, without anything coming back to you. You just do it, and you take these next 40 days. So yeah, come on, evangelicals. Let's do this. We're not going to protest funerals. We're not going to protest marriage. We're not going to protest any of these things. We're going to look inside, so that by the time you get to Easter, you're a better person, and we are better people. So that's my soapbox. Let me go ahead and give that back. Andy.
Awesome. Yeah, I was going to say, if you're looking for those specific passages, it's in the New Testament in the book of not shittiness.
Right. Or let me really throw you in for a curve here. And it was Sal. Sal put this on Twitter. Sal is like, if somebody is communist curious, what reading would you suggest to him? And so I chimed in. I said, first 6 chapters of Acts. It's true. You want communism, first 6 chapters of Acts right there in the Bible. It's there. So, and all around the country.
That's right. There were mushroom clouds coming out of people's heads.
Right, exactly. So, all right, that's all I got until Friday.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're gonna make it. So you're going back to the plus side of the thermometer, Carrie. Now, are you expecting sunny days soon?
Oh yeah, we're like 50, 60 degrees today.
Oh my goodness! All right,
yeah,
so that's good. So you can be the happier of the two of us by Friday, because
absolutely.
I'm pretty sure we're not going to get to that temperature until the beginning of May. But that's okay, because it just, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, well, listen, Carrie, thank you so much. Dre, it was absolutely wonderful you being on the show. Great conversation. Hopefully we can talk again soon. Please come back anytime. And if you're listening, thank you so much for joining us. And we will see you on Friday. Take care, everyone. Wait one second.
We bout that, ayy. We in the zone. We out here, yeah. Spitting the facts, how it's supposed to be. Harriet the dog, we keeping it G. Whoa, oh, oh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Take off your shades, it helps see through the smoke. Cause the wicked hide behind the cloak. And if you stay in the mist, you gon' be soaked. So listen up, cause this hair of the dog. What's real, what ain't, is this the fog or smog? Cause there's a difference when you breathe it in. So don't let the corporate media take you for a spin. This that morning show, they put you in the know. So I hope that you ready, cause all we do is go, go, go. Yeah, come get your info, you gon' be like, whoa. Hair of the dog, we bout that, ayy. We in the zone.